What is going on, boys and girls? Welcome along to our second in a row early morning Friday stream. I almost said Saturday, Friday stream as we look to prepare for another round of Super Rugby. There's round 2 coming up starting tonight. So we are going to be joined by a special guest as we look through all the matches coming your way this weekend. So, special guest, who could it be? Last time we had Taz, but today we're waking someone else up really, really early in the morning, and we can say hello, good morning, and how are you, Paul? Welcome back.
Tired. It's too early. Got my coffee. Yeah, we're good. Let's go. Let's do this.
I got coffee too. Look how bad we are. We've both got blooming coffee. We're both, oh, dearie me. Now look, last time, I made all these pretty little pictures and everything, and I forgot to use them until halfway through. So this time I'm really prepared. I'm awake. I've got everything sorted, and we are ready to go.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you make pretty pictures for Taz, but not for me.
No. I didn't use them when I was with Taz. But watch this, Paul. Let's talk about the first game of round 2, which is the Highlanders versus the Sharks. Now look at that. Wasn't that just supreme? Now,
I'm trying to look. I've got to bring it up on my phone so I can see.
These cool graphics.
Go on, sorry.
Say Highlanders and the Sharks. Oh, it works just so well. So well. Anyway, Paul, game 1 of the weekend.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the Highlanders yet, but it's time to be excited because the Highlanders are in action. And they're up against the Sharks, so I quite like the Sharks. So it's sort of my favourite South African team against my local team.
Really?
Yeah, why not? I mean, the Kings aren't there anymore, are they? So we've got to support someone else. So we're dumping it in with the good old Sharks. But yes, the Highlanders, first time we've seen them. Bit of a change to their team though, wasn't it? Your thoughts? I know you've made it pretty clear on our social medias about the whole Ioane at 12 situation, but let all the viewers know what you think about that. Ioane's at 12 for those who haven't seen the team for the Highlanders yet. So he's been nudged out, as you could say. You're not a fan though, Paul, are you?
No, absolutely, totally the wrong thing to do. So yeah, what should have happened is that Ioane should be given the 10 jersey and told, look, you got the keys to the car, the 10 jersey is yours, it's yours for the season. Instead, they've gone for this Mitchell Hunt guy who is living off the reputation of one drop goal to win a game at number 10, which is all wrong. And to put Josh Ioane in a new position up against a crash ball 12 is just dumb. And Josh, please don't get injured.
Yeah, it's easy to say that.
That's essentially what I was saying on Twitter.
But essentially, it's like I just don't know what they're going to do defensively. I don't expect that they're just going to plop them there and say, do your best. I think there's a bit more tactical now about what this tactic is. Whether we'll see a complete reshuffle of the backline when they're defensively playing, or whether they'll change something up with how they position. I don't know. But I just think, I don't know, do you think that they're going to have something a bit more complex? This is Tony Brown we're talking, and we know, in Tony Brown we trust, as the saying goes. In Tony Brown we trust. They're going to have something a bit more up their sleeve, aren't they?
In Tony Brown, for attack, we trust, right? Tony Brown is an attack coach and a very, very good one. And what he's got himself is a really nice attacking setup. Because let's put Josh Mackay, fantastic runner with the ball, but he's not a playmaker. By having Hunt and Ioane, that means you can play left and right off midfield rucks, which so expect that to happen quite a lot. And yeah, on attack, I'm loving this setup, really am. My problem is on defence, and if you're going to hide Josh Ioane somewhere else and bring someone else in to defend there, then the problem that comes with that is when you're on transition from defence to attack, is you can't attack on that first phase because everyone's in the wrong place. So that's why I don't like it, is because of I mean, attacking wise, to say once you're in your phases, that's lovely. That is going to be a great great attacking side, or backline at least. But it's that transition from defence to attack and defence itself that I've got concerns about.
Yeah, I understand that. That's a really good point you make on that one as well. I do find it weird. I've read a lot of or a few things about this game, and it's amazing how much people write, and I'm not going to name where I read this, but stating that the Highlanders had 6 debutants in this team today, when in fact there's only two. And they're counting everyone who's never played for the Highlanders going through, saying they've only got one All Black in the team as well. A whole host of errors. I think this Highlanders team really is flying completely under everyone's radar. No one has a clue about this Highlanders team, but I am quite excited because we've got what I spoke of on your preview, Paul, was that we've got Dylan Hunt and James Lynch starting at 6 and 7, which is enough to get you excited about some very fast play. It's going to be a quick game plan from the Highlanders, and they're going to just rumble their way everywhere they can, quick as they can. But they're up against the Sharks, who I thought were pretty decent in their opening game as well. You're not expecting this to be a high-scoring game, which kind of surprised me.
I would expect it to be a tight game. It might be a high-scoring one, but I expect it to be close. Is I think is where I've gone with this one. One of the things to remember, okay, is what we've seen from the Sharks last week is not what we'll see this week. Last week, there were 86% humidity, and they just kicked the leather off the ball. Both sides did. They kicked it something like 76 times in the game. That is not going to happen this weekend because the Highlanders are just not going to kick it back to them. If they do, if the Sharks start kicking it, they're not going to see the ball all game because Josh Mackay is going to run that back. So for me, it's difficult to know what you're going to get from the Sharks because, as I say, last weekend the conditions were so different. I don't think we'll see them play the same way. I think they'll play very differently this weekend to last weekend. They'll run with the ball a lot more. If they don't, then Fanganuku, Nariki, and McKay. I mean, the three of them. Josh has got a bit of a boot on him, but the other two, I mean, they're not kickers, are they? Let's be blunt. They are fantastic guys running with ball in hand. But so you're not. This is not going to be a kicking duel between the two sides. And because of that, Bosch is going to have to run that ball a lot more.
Yeah, and that's the exciting thing I think about it too, because Karen Bosch is a guy that naturally I think does like to run the ball a lot more. And then you look at who he's got outside him as well. Yeah, Andreas Hazen is probably a guy like spoke of it, is just going to go straight. He's not going to
boom shakalaka. Yes,
he's not going to probably give too much ball out. And Lakanyu Arm, you probably say the same about him too. They love to run.
A bit harsh on Lakanyu, I think. And then when you got players like Mapimpi is wonderful. So if they can, this could turn out to be a really exciting game, to be honest. But you got to wonder. As you say, there's been a lot of change in that Highlanders side. I'm a bit suspect around selection. They could take a while to gel, and this Lions side are going to have to change how they played from last week to this week. So it's either going to be really exciting or it's going to be a really disjointed game with lots of errors. I think
we're going to see tries though. That's what I think more than anything. You're going to see some tries, especially because it's under the roof up at Forsyth Bar Stadium, and you've got plenty of exciting players in there. They are going to want to play fast. They're going to want to play open style, and I don't think the Highlanders are going to want to be in rucks. They're not going to want to be in scrums. They're not going to want to be in any set piece at all. They're going to want to wide open, and all hell for leather from there. So, game one, Paul. This is going to set the tone, my friend, as to how the rest of this video goes. But are you going with the locals, or are you siding with the South Africans who are on tour in round two?
Highlanders by 3. But remember, folks, this Sharks side, they what was it, 22 all with the Crusaders last year, with 7 penalties. So this Sharks team do tend to do. As I say, they do tour well into New Zealand. So, I think a close one, Highlanders by 3.
Right, I've got Highlanders by 4. So, very, very close. We've agreed nicely straight off the whistle. I like that. Very, very good. Right, let's get a little bit technical here and go to game number 2. Oh, I love that. Beautiful. Brumbies versus the Rebels. Australian derby. Two teams who had extremely contrasting starts to their season last week, didn't they?
Well, I'm not saying. Well, the Brumbies dominated the Reds for periods, but couldn't score, and the Rebels were just rebellious. I mean, they were just a shambles up there. Now, they're going to come up against a very different style of a team. This Brumbies side is not going to play like Barbarians rugby in the same way that the Sunwolves do. So, at least the Rebels are going to be given some breathing space to get themselves into the game for this one. Can the Rebels be as bad as last week? No. Well, they better not be. And the Brumbies, well, look, they've shown they know how to grind out wins.
Yeah, the Brumbies are, I think, the same team just about as last year, and the fact that they're going to play, I called it professionalism from the Brumbies last year. They just seem to get the job done. They don't seem to get too flustered. I think against the Reds, they could have quite easily just capitulated in that fixture.
Yep.
But they held pretty strong, and I think that's positive for not only the Brumbies, but also Australian rugby altogether, to have a team that can actually buckle down and play some decent rugby. So I'm, quietly interested about this team. Also giving the young number 10 as well, Noah Lolicio, another nod. And that jumper is also a good positive for me for that Brumbies team. The Rebels, though, I don't think it could get much worse. Change-wise, the teams are fairly similar. There's a few changes to the Rebels, mostly in the pack that they've gone with changes there. Gibbon, Smith, and Michael Wells taking their place back in the team again. But they've stuck with Matt Samoa. Now, I think we're pretty critical about this last week, weren't we? About Matt Samoa starting number 10 jumper. How long are they going to stick with this? We talk a lot about this, don't we? About how we don't give number 10s a chance with these young guys. They keep sticking with Tamua in this number 10 jumper, and we've seen it later on again. We'll talk about it with the Reds. These guys just don't fit.
The Reds, okay. They stuck with him. He's the only experienced 10 in Australia. They've got no choice.
He's not.
Okay, they've got to stick with him.
He's not a 10.
He's a 12. He's not. He's a 12. I agree. He's not a 10. But their other option is to put Reece Hodge in there. He's not a 10 either. Look, they've got to stick with him, see how it goes. But I can't see anything past the Brumbies winning this one.
No, I'm going Brumbies all the way as well. I've got quite big for this one actually. Brumbies by 13 for me. What have you got?
I've gone Brumbies by 3.
Ooh.
I just don't see them. Again, they'll grind it out. They'll win it. I'm convinced, but I just can't see them scoring a hat load of points.
Yeah, they seem to get desperate, don't they? The Brumbies, like when they're starting to trail. Like when I said last week's game, they really upped their game when they were trailing and they were, on that pivoting point of fighting their way back and taking a chance. They really did take it quite well. So I just like how they play, which is weird because the Brumbies, not typically a team that you'd say that about, but they seem to just be able to get that job done. So we are both going with a Brumbies victory, which is already we're agreeing on too much. It's a bit strange already. Heading into game number 3. Here we go. Game of the round. Chiefs versus the Crusaders. Oh, this is going to be an absolute mouth-watering match, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a cracker. So again, changes at 10 for both teams. Cruden coming in for the Chiefs quite deservedly after last weekend. And I think with Trask, it's a bit different than some of the others we'll talk about later on. But he's a new guy. He's had a taste. He's got an idea now what he needs to do at Super Rugby level. He can go away and get himself up to that level. He's not someone like who's been around for a few years who you either stick with or you don't. For my mind, I think that was a nice taster for him. This Chiefs side, they're playing 3 7s, which is going to be which is interesting. But Crusaders, wow! If your name's Brett Cameron, I mean seriously, what do you? Wow, talk about lack of faith in a player. God, I mean, here's a guy he's got an All Blacks cap, hasn't he?
One
against Japan. It's got an All Blacks cap, and somehow a player that the All Blacks won't touch with a barge pole, who is a wonderful player at 15, David Havili, gets given the 10 jersey ahead of him. So, wow, if I was, Brett Cameron, you need to leave Canterbury. Leave the Crusaders, mate. You have no career there.
It looks that way, doesn't it? It's tough. I mean, you're right about the Chiefs. Cruden is a different situation, isn't it? I think a lot of the teams we talk about, these young teens, we talk about them because, yes, they've got this young, promising teen, but they don't have much else. It's not like they've got this experienced guy like Cruden is. Like, this is a guy of huge experience. He's shown already that he's up to speed with this sort of competition. He can go straight in. It's great to have that ability to have a young, promising guy to learn off, to work with, and to kind of move around with a guy like Cruden. On the other side of the scale, though, no Richie Mo'unga. Oh, goodness me. I'm kind of curious, though, what you think about the style of play they're going to play. Because, we know Havili's got a decent little boot on him. He's going to smash the hell of it if he, when he gets the ball. But he's not a tactical kicker so much as like a Mo'unga, or a game controller by territory as a Mo'unga is. Do you think the Crusaders are going to kind of change up the style, be a bit more risky? Because Havili's guy is going to say, he's going to be in his own half or situation on his 22, and if he spots a little bit of an opportunity or a little bit of a play, I think he's more likely of a guy who's actually going to go for it. He's going to take a bit more risk than we're probably going to see from like a Mo'unga or a proper out and out 10.
Well, let's be honest. He's got pace to die for outside him. Let's be honest. I mean, gets a good hue. Then outside you got Braden Ennor, who's quick, Sever Reese and Bridge. There is just if he gets it out to someone in space, they're gone, absolutely gone. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them actually play patiently at various times, just go through the phases in certain areas of the pitch, because, as you say, they don't have that tactical kicking option as much, and therefore, let's just play phases and keep hold of the ball. Let's just starve the Chiefs the ball and just keep working away until we find a gap to put one of those fast guys in and then just say goodbye.
Yeah.
I think a bit more possession rugby from the Chiefs than we've seen previously. Well, sorry, not from the Chiefs, from the Crusaders, which might mean that the Chiefs get starved of the ball, which could be a problem for them.
Yeah, Sever Reese is back. George Bridge is back. They just keep rolling out the names, don't they? You get rid of a couple, and they just cash in on the All Blacks World Cup outside backs or wingers. It's just crazy. The last thing I want to talk about, Damien McKenzie. Oh, the fuss about McKenzie. He gets in the starting team, gets named to start last week, and then he goes and injures himself. No one else would do that except for McKenzie. He's named to be back. The game is still, a day away. Is he going to make
it? Yeah, he had what, a doctor. He hurt his tummy last weekend. I hope so. Let's be honest, we all want to see him play because he is so much fun to watch play. It's just a shame that James Lowe isn't outside him anymore, alongside him, because those two together were just wonderful. Looking forward to it, to see him play and get out on the park. Just to go back to those nines things. I mean, Brett Cameron's been with the Crusaders for a couple of years, whereas Trask, it's his first season. That's the big difference between that. That's why we're dealing with Trask differently to everyone else, because when we get onto it in a couple of games' time, I'm going to rip a team to pieces.
Oh, that's exciting. Let's move on then. I am looking forward to the combination with Cruden and Antonina Brown and Damien McKenzie, that sort of link 10, 12, 15, and the impact McKenzie will just shoot into those little spaces and gaps. I think it could be a very, very good combination for them throughout the season. Probably, maybe will it develop today or this weekend? Might be a bit of a question, but I think if they can all stay in that team, stay all fit and everything like that, which is the biggest issue, that's going to be a real killer combination. With McKenzie's just going to come in there and he's going to link up, and that's what he does so well. So it's going to be a cracking game, a really, really good game. Who are you going to
one of the good things with that one is that also that by Damien McKenzie coming in, probably Braden Ennor is going to be looking for it, which means that Quinn Tupaia, who loves to hit a gap and go and take the outside line, he could be released by the fact that that everyone's focusing on Damien McKenzie. So watch out for that kind of move. I've gone Chiefs by 3. I think that might be a heart over head one, because I just don't want to see the Crusaders cakewalk this season. I want to see them actually have to earn it. Fair
enough. I can't blame you for that one. I'm going Crusaders by 3 on the flip side of it. I just want to see a really, really good match. You can't. It's so hard to look past this Crusaders team, isn't it? It's just so ridiculous. We didn't even talk about the fact that Joe Moody and Cody Taylor are back in the front row. That's just how good this damn team is. It's just so.
Forwards, smallwards. Who cares? It's small.
It's all about entertainment. We want to see tries. That's what we want.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. Right. Next match. I want to see you go ham at someone here, Paul. So we're going on to our next game, which let's see what that will be. Waratahs versus the Blues. Oh, here we go. Your Blues are in action. I mean, come on. Let's talk about your Blues first here, Paul. They weren't too bad last week, were they? They were pretty good. I mean, their first 40 minutes, surely this team can take a lot from that and say, let's take the positive from that 40 minutes. Yes, we completely fell apart and got outplayed in the second, but if we build on what we did in that first 40, surely there's some positives here in the season for the Blues, despite the hospital being half full of Blues players in Auckland.
Yeah, now it's not. They've got something like 10 players injured already, which is just a farce. It seems like, whoever was the conditioning trainer for the Chiefs has moved up to Auckland. The Blues played a very un-New Zealand style of play last weekend, and they basically played one out round the corner and just kept on doing it, and it worked really well in the first half. And then in the second half they got a bit tired, and also I think it was just too one-dimensional. Gatland and the other coaches told the Chiefs players how to deal with it, and they just got ripped to pieces. And that's the problem here, is that the Blues can do one thing well. The problem is that allows the opposition coaches to figure it out during the first 40 minutes and set the team loose on the second. And the Blues have lost so many games in the second half, it's unreal. So that's the biggest problem with this Blues team, is that it is just too, it just has no, it just shows the same picture the whole time. People are talking about the fact that there was some nice tries and stuff, but all of that was first phase set piece play. As soon as they go into phases, they're just too one-dimensional.
And it kind of gets worse too, doesn't it, for them, because they're missing that X Factor man, Rieko Ioane, the guy that probably can make something happen when nothing's on. He's out, so that's pretty huge for the Blues.
It is, but as I said, he just didn't get to play.
No.
He didn't
the
get
ball didn't
anything
get as far
outside
out
of
to it,
first
did
phase
it?
play. It's just against the Waratahs team. I think it'll be enough, but it's just that they need to show more pictures to the opposition, because it's just too easy at the moment.
Yeah, and of course they're missing their big game player, Tony Lamborn. Oh, how good was it seeing him last week? Oh, it's so fantastic. Karl Tuinufuaki is back in the starting team. Josh Goodhue comes into the second row for Tom Robinson, who's off to the bench, which is kind of surprising. Blake Gibson comes back into the back row. A bit of a shift around in the outside backs as well. Jordan Highland coming into the team. Mark Talia moving wings, of course, without Rieko. So a lot of change-ups in these Blues team for this matchup. But against the Waratahs side, who, let's be fair, nothing's changed, has it, for the Waratahs? We blamed the coach so much. We said, surely it can't be all these great players they've got. Maybe it really is. They've lost half of them, but they're still fairly similar, aren't they? But they do have, I think, the promising news we talked of a couple of games ago with a young fly half. They're sticking with them, Will Harrison. It's good to see, and I think Australia is desperate for this to happen as well, and it's got to continue for the season, because they've got to find players who can wear a number 10 jersey competently at least this level, if not beyond.
Well, the problem for the Waratahs is, here's a guy who's going to never fulfill his potential by the sounds of it, but Mac Mason has been the up-and-coming, the future for so long, and he goes and gets himself injured right at the beginning of the season. So he was destined to be given that 10 jersey, and this was his season to either show he could play or basically show he can't. And he's gone and got himself injured, as I say. So, Harrison, decent start against the Crusaders. He didn't set the world alight, but he didn't make any big hashes either. So I was, impressed with him, and really good that the Tars are sticking with him. There is that temptation to put Beale in at 10, but Beale showed us last weekend why you do not want him running your game. Lots of good breaks when he was given space, but lots of bad decision-making mean that he butchered so many opportunities where they could have actually put some pressure on the Crusaders. His decision-making was absolutely appalling last weekend. And again, he shows that, he has to have space. If you put him in the tight, he'll just run sideways. So really disappointed with him, but really impressed with... And perhaps here's a kid who is going to absolutely murder commentators for years to come. And his name's too long to even fit in the namespace they have on the Tribe Sports app. But Narakwiniko, something like that.
Quintuazi, I think, something along those lines.
Quintuazi.
But probably hatch that up too.
yeah, been really, really impressed with him last weekend. Sure, he made a mistake early on, but he showed the composure that didn't ruin his game for him. He just kept on playing, kept on doing his thing, and was really impressed with him. So yeah, they've got a couple of nice young players. It's kind of, and I thought Carmichael Hunt actually had a decent game. It's the more experienced players actually that are letting them down.
Yeah, you've perfectly led into what I was going to say next about the Waratahs. That experience, not leading from the front. I mean, Michael Hooper almost a bit invisible, wasn't he, in their opening round game? Just not having the impact that you normally would expect. He's a guy you could probably, put a good amount of expectation on to do a certain amount of stuff, to cause an amount of trouble, to be a focal point of the other teams, to stop and to get him out of the game. Sure, I mean, they were up against the Crusaders, which probably explains that. But still, decent team for the Waratahs, and I think they need to prove something here against the Blues. Yes, it's the Blues, but it's a New Zealand team. And I think it'll be a fairly decent statement here if they can actually do something and put this Blues team away, because they need to bounce back from that, and they need to put in a big performance. Those experienced guys need to stand up. They need to lead from the front. Beale's, decision making, that's got to improve as well. But they've got the ability in that team, and that real out-and-out finisher that you were just talking about as well. He's a guy that can certainly, alongside him and Newsom, those are guys that could just finish off chances. So they need to use that more and play to those strengths that they've got in that team. You're a Blues man. We know that. Are you going head or heart? Well, I mean, no. It's not really head or heart at all.
No, it's not on this one. What's going to happen is Perifetta is going to miss a bunch of kicks that he points out on the table, on the field. The Blues are going to take a lead at half time, and the big question is, can the Waratahs catch them in the second half? I'm going to say no, Blues by 3, but Blues will need a lead at half time.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't even talk about Perifetta and his average kicking. No, it's just basics, isn't it? You kind of want a goal kicker who's just going to kick your kicks. Doesn't matter if he just catches and passes for the rest of the game. You've got to take those kicks. That game last week against the Chiefs, it would have been, I think, a different game. If he got those kicks that he missed, it could have been such a different matchup. But alas...
Oh, yeah, they'd have won it.
Yeah, I think so too. It would have been a nail-biting last few minutes, that's for sure. I'm going the Blues. I'm going bigger than you, though. I think Blues are going to win this one by 8, because I don't back the Waratahs, player-wise or coaching-wise. I don't know what it is, but I don't back them to have the capabilities to adjust their game like the Chiefs did to counter whatever the Blues are doing. I think this is two very similar teams in that sort of sense, that they're both kind of, use the right word, but kind of too obnoxious to really look at what the other team's doing rather than just what themselves are doing. So it'll probably just be a hammering at each other all night long. So I'm going Blues by 8 to take that one out. Next up, we have, let's get it right here, swish and swish, the Lions versus the Reds. Okay, this one's interesting.
Gee.
I find this one really interesting because...
Really? Because I was going to say, look, here is a game that if you're going to skip one, this is probably one to miss.
For sure,
folks. The Lions were horrible against the Jaguars, cut to pieces. The Reds, as I say, couldn't fight the way out of a paper bag against the Brumbies. This one is awful. I mean, both these sides had to travel, so they've not had any time to fix all the things that were going wrong last weekend, and there was plenty. And then the Reds have decided, you know what? We'll just change up. And apparently the answer at number 10 is James O'Connor. If that's the answer, they're asking all the wrong bloody questions. Let's be honest. You've got a young guy in Isaac Lucas. You either trust him or you don't. And what Brad Thorne has shown today, with this selection, is he doesn't. And it's that the guy's confidence is knackered, and the Reds are buggered for the rest of the season now.
Is that the team you're going to have a rant about? Was that
Sorry?
the team you wanted to have a rant about?
They're one of the two teams,
okay.
yes.
I was going to leave you out there. I was just going to have a little rest in the chair there. But yeah, that's why I find it interesting, is the fact that the Lions are so bad, but the Reds were okay at home, but now they've got to travel over to Ellis Park.
They weren't at home. They were down in Canberra.
It's in Ellis Park, this one, isn't it? Is it?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But the Reds last weekend were at Canberra.
That's what I mean.
They were
okay.
Yeah.
I think they were okay, promising at home, but now they've got to travel. So I think they're obviously not going to peak at that same performance, are they? So they're going to kind of, I think, drop down to what's going to be a fairly equal sort of level. No, it's not going to be a spectacle. I mean, don't watch this one. Don't record the Chiefs Crusaders and the Lions Reds and watch them back to back, because you'll probably want to kick yourself in the foot. But certainly, I think it's going to be fairly tight. Just the way that these two teams are sitting. They've got experience back there. Andres Coetzee is starting back at 15 for the Lions, which I think is going to help them somewhat. But we've talked about this a lot. This team is a shade of what it was, but I do think that this Reds team is going to be down at their level, and I think they're going to compete with these teams down in those lower mid/bottom areas of the table. So it could be good. O'Connor's an absolute mayhem selection at 10, especially as well. They've got Hamish Stewart at 12. I just don't understand that.
Hamish Stewart at 12 and Bryce Hegarty at 15.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got three playmakers there. So in theory, Spates, Campbell, Pataya should see the ball a lot and have wonderful passes into space. But the problem is, which one of the three of them, I mean, they're going to stood next to each other going, no, I'm the playmaker. I'm still here. No, I'm the playmaker. For boys. And if you don't put pressure on Elton Yanchis, okay, Elton Yanchis, if you put pressure on him, can fall to pieces. But if you don't, he can absolutely run the show. And I don't see this Reds pack putting pressure on him. And I think he could, run the show. It's at altitude. The second half, the Reds are just going to, capitulate. Well, probably in the last, maybe it might take the last 20, but I can just see the Elton Yankees ripping them to pieces.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I do agree with you on that. Yeah, he's not going to get that pressure on to smash him, is he? So he's probably going to actually look quite good against this average Reds team. To me, I would have left O'Connor at 12. Just if you want to swap Lucas out, do a straight swap with Stewart and just go bang bang. If you're still going to have those two playmakers, aren't you?
No, you've got to put trust in the guy. Give him confidence.
But if you're that
and let him
adamant
build into
to make a change, this just doesn't make sense to me, because you're putting another younger guy back in out of position. You're screwing with like four guys here that are just not in the headspace at all, which is just really, really weird. We do have a couple comments in the chat. Jason saying he feels like the Lions got a bit unlucky last week. The Jaguares had those 50-50 passes that just went to hand. Taz thinks Lucas had a good game. His defence work was really, really good. And Jason's going to be at the Lions game. Lucky bugger. Lucky bugger. That would be nice. But I feel you...
No, we've said, look, it's the game to be at. Don't be at this one. You made a mistake. Big mistake.
Take your pillow. I think it could be quite tight. And yeah, it's not going to be a spectacle, that's for sure. But it could be what's the word? An exciting finish, maybe? And the fact that who's going to not stuff up the most to get the winner. But I think you're going to see a guy like Yankees shine.
You really are fighting to talk this game up, aren't you?
I'm doing my best. Who are you picking? Home team?
Lions by 5.
By 5. I've got Lions by 2. I think, like I said, it's going to be close, I think. But someone's going to make a horrible error and stuff it all up. Let's move on. Next game of the round. We have the Stormers, and they are up against the Bulls. Stormers look good, don't they? But they have lost big captain man, Sia Khaleesi, out for a number of weeks as well, which is going to be a massive, massive loss. But I still like them. I think the Stormers team's got it all about them, and they're up against the Bulls side who don't, to be completely fair. They've got Mr. Retirements. He's coming out of the retirement village for another Saturday. Mornay Stain, starting at 10. I just want to see Willems just run rings around him. That's what I want to see from this game.
Well, look, again, a bit like the Sharks for the Bulls here. They're not going to play the same way as they did last week. Well, hopefully not. Because look, 86% humidity, there was no other choice than to kick the ball, right? This weekend, it's not quite so bad, pardon me, for the Stormers game, where they're playing in Cape Town. The humidity is not quite so bad. So it'll be, hopefully we'll see a better quality of game out of the Bulls. My biggest question for this game is, though, are you going to see both teams in blue, and are you able to tell the difference in who's playing? Because as far as the game goes, it's quite clear. The Stormers win this one comfortably with a try bonus point. It's an easy one to call. Shirt clashes is my biggest question.
That was terrible last week, wasn't it? Absolutely terrible. I seen there was a bit of a meme going around about that Hurricanes game. Like the Stormers go, maybe you should play in yellow. Hurricanes like, I'm going to play in blue. But the players won't be able to tell we're going to play in blue. That's it. Not changing.
Well, you say, and then then the referee decides, you know what? I'll play in this. I'll wear purple, which is kind of nearly blue as well. Hey, I'm going to join in. I was like, oh, dearie me. But on shirt clashes, fantastic game. Honda Heat versus something Rockets over in Japan, where you can tell the referee he was in white. The other team, one team's in black, and the other one's in dark green. And you're just like, really? There is just no difference at all on the TV between the 30 players on the pitch. Yeah, guesswork, absolute guesswork. Maybe if you're at the ground, it was okay, but on the TV, it was a disaster. So yeah, I'd say I'm not expecting much from this Bulls side. They're in transition. They're a mixture of old guys and young guys, and they just haven't got a. Yeah.
I feel sorry for, like, Roscoe Speckman. That's the guy I really feel sorry for. I mean, the rest of them, Hendricks, I mean, he's coming out of retirement village as well. Oh, Warwick Gallant, I do feel a little bit sorry for him. But Speckman has got oodles of talent, ability, so much that he can offer a team. It's just not. He's got to go around like a homeless man and get a bit of scraps out of the trash can every 5 minutes, because that's all he will get. Especially, like, he must have gone to work one day in the training and be like, "Oh, boys, we've signed Mornay Stain this week." And he was just going, "Oh shit, what? I'm never going to get the ball. What are you doing?" Oh, I do feel sorry for him. But the Bulls, yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of a long season for them. I do like the Stormers though. I think going to see plenty more excitement.
Yep.
Jason makes a good point in the chat. They're saying when Khaleesi went off, there wasn't much difference in the Stormers pack. Shows the leadership within the team is there. So he's feeling pretty confident about the Stormers boys going ahead. And I mean, yeah, when you got guys like Peter Steph Toy,
I'm not sure the last time I've seen Khaleesi play a full game. He always gets subbed. So yeah, so I'm not worried that he's. Look,
point.
don't get me wrong, very good player, adds to the team, but I'm not worried for the Stormers that he's not there.
No.
They'll win comfortably.
Yeah, I think they'll storm it. They'll storm it against the Bulls.
Whoa!
Yeah. Whoa! Nailed that one. What's your pick?
I've gone Stormers by 15.
I got it's very similar. I've got now Stormers by 18 for this matchup as well. So your big wins, all about. I like what the Stormers team can do. I think they're going to be the front runners. I really do like them. Right, moving on. Final game of the round. Jaguares. Oh boy, they're up against the poor old Hurricanes. Isn't this just a baptism on fire to start your season for the Hurricanes? You couldn't have dreamt of a worse start, could you? Or a nightmare, wouldn't it be?
Exactly. It's a very, very tough start. Don't get me wrong. They've lost their head coach to the All Blacks late on as well, which hasn't helped them. Yeah, their preparation has all been wrong for this season. They've lost Bowden Barrett. They've lost Artie Surveyor. Dane Coles isn't around either. So yeah, things are going wrong. But then you've still got a back line that's got TJ Perinara in there. You've got Lamapi, Proctor, Houston, Lamb, Barrett. You've still got an exciting team. And then you decide, you know what, I've got two young fly halves, both of whom this is the season where they're going to cement it. So I'll just keep swapping them and give them no confidence again, just like the Reds. Look, either Fletcher Smith is your man or Gordon Basham is your man. I don't care which one it is. I would prefer Fletcher Smith, but that's just but I can understand why you go with Gordon Basham. But choose one and stick with him. Stop switching them around and blowing their confidence.
Yeah, this is number 2 team that you wanted to have a go at. Yeah, I completely understand. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the exact same issue as the Reds. I just look at that and just go, what are you playing at? And the other thing is, I don't understand how the Hurricanes play Lamapi. Why do we see Lamapi out on the wing half the time? Right? You've got a young inexperienced 10 who really would love to have someone he can just offload the ball to, know it's going to get over the gain line and restart again when he's in trouble. And what do? You take that release valve and you go and hide it on the other side of the pitch away from him. Seriously, guys, no. Well, I'm happy. You just sit on this guy's shoulder the entire game, and he's just going to shovel it to you when he's in trouble.
Yeah.
Right. That's all I want you to do. Just take all the pressure off my young 10. No. Go run. Just seriously, what are the coaches doing?
I'm surprised that, Piran, we talked about this in the preseason, didn't we? Perinara and Laumape, either side of you probably couldn't want a better combination. There's no team that will probably offer you as good a protection, or should offer you as good a protection in probably the whole competition, just about. Having such experience.
And then you got Ben Lamb running that inside line for you as well. And it's just it's all set. You can just I can draw it on a blackboard or on a whiteboard for you. Look, run this every time. He's got he's got 3 or 4 options. The defence are going to have to choose one of them, and he's just got to pick the one where the defence aren't reading.
Yep, and even Jordy Barrett is a guy who's gonna get a bit in the dirty stuff too. He's always happy to just charge straight into a tackle. He doesn't often make the gain line, but he'll still take a hit up, drive it in, generally secure the ball, and do a bit of that dirty stuff. So I mean, he's got the forwards there. Sure, not fantastic, but guys that can certainly take the toll of this team. I'm surprised they're still leaving guys like Fafita and Walker Leary out of the side. I think they could add a little bit more to the starting team, but I guess it will give them a stronger finish to the matchup. The Jaguares haven't officially named their team yet, but I have heard you got inside line as who's going to be running for this team. So any sort of early predictions, early team naming?
So Paul Tate's a great guy on Twitter for doing this, and I've got his tweets up. I'm sorry, I think we're looking at a rookie 12, which is going to be interesting. But the 13, was it Maroney, looked really, really good last weekend, didn't he, with his tries? And then we also had the fly half that came in when
Miotti?
Miotti, who came in and played really well when it was when there was that early injury. So I was really impressed with Miotti. Maroney was obviously really cool. Apparently De La Fuente is playing 12, not so Cancelleri. So not the other player. So maybe there's a rookie on the bench. But anyway, it's looking like a decent team. They played real nice rugby last weekend. Expect more of the same against Hurricanes, because the Hurricanes, that pivots all over the place. This is looking like a real nice start to the season for the Jaguares team.
You'd expect it too, wouldn't you? I mean, when we talked about them pre-season, we knew what we'd expect from the side. They had pretty much class everywhere, and there's nothing not to like about this team. They've got all those guys. It's Maroney stepping up. They've still got the Buffellis. And to have the depth when Benicia goes off injured, to have Miotti stand up and step it up to that next level. They've got all the tools, and to me, they sit there with the Stormers and the Crusaders. Those are, going to be the sides that, I'm not going to mention an Australian team, but they're going to be the sides that are really going to challenge this season. It's going to come down to playoff positions. I think already you can see the cream is rising to the top.
I'd add the Chiefs to that as well.
Yeah.
I think those are the 4 teams that, the Crusaders, the Stormers, Jaguares, and the Chiefs are the 4 teams that will be there at the pointy end.
Yep, definitely will be as well. We got some comments in the chat. Got arguments over who's going to win the game here between the Jaguares and the Hurricanes. Who's your pick, Paul?
Oh, Hurricanes comfortably. The Jaguares comfortably. After that from the Hurricanes last weekend, with them messing around with their fly half, Jaguares by 7.
Oh no, we don't have disagreement. We have agreement. We're missing a word. Yes, Jack's going to smash them. Taz and Jason agreeing, although they're not thinking. But here's a comment for you, Paul. God Goku saying, "Hey, DrivingMaul, this is going to be the Blues' year." He's taken the piss already. Oh dear.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. Look, they've got the solution for their number 10, which is a big problem for them. But unfortunately, he's only there for half the season. And then he's going to take his sabbatical in a couple of years' time as well and not be there again either. So, look, there are certain players that play the All Blacks legends and really just don't play Super Rugby. Richard McCaw springs to mind, who played more All Blacks tests than he did Crusaders games. Dan Carter, another one. These are guys who, you'll see a lot of them in an All Blacks jersey. You just won't see much of them at super level, and I don't think we're going to see much of Barrett for the rest of his career at super level.
Yes, back to the actual matchup. I've gone Jaguares by 11,
Sorry.
And I'm just about in tears laughing at the comments in there. No, wait, 2021 will be our year. No, 2022, he says. So it's kind of like being a Warriors fan, isn't it? The reviewer says the Sunwolves are first. in the Australian Conference, but they are on the bye. So yeah, they'll stay with 100% record.
Oh, and that is so upsetting for me because they played some wonderful rugby last weekend. They've got themselves a bit of momentum, and what do? You say, go sit down and cool your heels, boys. It's like, no, we want to play again and get put another good performance in, because you know what, we've only had 2 weeks together or 4 weeks together. So yeah, I think it's a real shame they haven't got a second. They're not playing again.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that one. But to top the conference, I mean, Sunwolves for the playoffs in their final year. Yes, wouldn't that be amazing? Come on, I'm back on the bandwagon again. Yes, but that is it. That's our 7 matches from round number 2. We've pretty much agreed on everything there, haven't we? Which is a bit strange, considering I thought it would be completely opposites. But big thanks, Paul, for coming on the early morning stream. Got the coffee and everything all ready to go. People can catch you. DrivingMaul. That's really the only word they need to know. Website predictions. You got it all going on.
Head over to drivingmaul.com. I've got a couple of interesting ones coming up. I'm talking with Wallaby in 9 minutes about the Waratahs season. So look out for that coming out. I'm not doing that live. That'll be recorded. And then I've got a call at 2:00 with the CEO of Bay of Plenty to talk about global rapid rugby and their involvement with the China Lions. So a couple of interesting interviews coming up on the website.
Yes, and of course, don't forget to make your picks for the yellow cap, which never fits on headphones. Super is a place to be. BehindThePost.com as well is a place to be. Taz has a quick question for you, Paul. You got 8 minutes to answer it. If the Saracens win the Champions Cup, will they be in it for next season as they're getting relegated?
No.
No?
No,
I don't think they would be.
They don't. The place goes to, or the league owns the position, and so the Premiership will get an extra place, but they won't give it to the Saracens.
They're getting nothing. They're getting nothing at all. That is us, though. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone in the chat as well. Thanks for coming by. We'll see you all next week. Yeah, sometime on Thursday or Friday. So make sure you stream around for there. We'll have another special guest. Until then, though, thanks for watching. Big thanks to Paul. Take care.
Missing you already.